Now we're gonna look at the method declaration. So a method is just a functional, it's just a building block, right, of object oriented programming, because it combines all the related code together. So you can put like bunch of code and just encapsulate them in the method, maybe to do something, a certain functionality. So it just makes the program easier as well. Okay, so you can declare the method by using the access modifier. I don't know if you saw me use this public. This is called access modifier. I will explain them later on, but the access modifiers just means that public means it can be accessed anywhere by any class. There is also private, so meaning that the method can be accessed by only that class. There is protected and so on, but I will explain them a little bit later on. So you declare a method by declaring, you start with the access modifier or specifier, and then the return type. So it returns void. So this is the return type, and the method name, and then here inside you can have parameters as well. You can have parameters. So I suppose we have maybe we want to create a method that's going to add two values for us. So we can do, actually let's do the same thing. Okay, so I suppose we can, let's say I've on my class program just gonna create some few variables or some fields. So I've got like string name, maybe I've got city, and then maybe I also have age, integer age. Okay, so here we already have this main method, so I'm going to create another method. So I'm just going to say public void, and then accept. I'm just going to call it accept. Okay, and so it's parameterless, and then there you can say console dot write console.write. Let's do write because I want to accept a value, and it's fun. So I can just say enter your name, and let's have a tab space as well. Okay, and now we can hold this in the name variable. I don't understand, why can't I access? Oh no, this must be global. You see, that's why I can't access it. It's in another method, so you can't access members of another method. So which is a problem. So this must be global. I don't know, what did I type there? H. So what you can do, you can just cut it and put it somewhere here. So now it's global, meaning any method within the class. Remember, we were within the class program. Any method within the class program will be able to access those global variables. So now I can say name, whatever that I'm reading back from the console.read line, and I'm just going to store it on name. Okay, and I just want to say enter your city, something like that. Let's make this a enter. Let's make it a line break. City, and we can just say city. Okay, and we can do the same thing with the age. Enter your age, and let's use a line break as well, and we can just say, okay, so this one we have to convert it to integer because we made it integer. Remember, anything that you're printing back, So already your program, Visual Studio is telling us there's something wrong. You cannot implicitly convert type string to an int. Because why? Age, we said it should be an integer. But whatever you type, even though you type a number on your console, the fact that you're typing on the console, it becomes a string. Okay, so it's important that you always convert it. So we're just going to say convert dot to int 32. Okay, so that's great. All right, now let's have another method. So now this method is just going to be for printing. It's going to print the values. So also going to say public void print. Okay, and here we can just say console dot write line or write. Let's use write. I don't like doing this. Let's just do it like this. Trees and then we can use and just copy like this. So this is gonna be, we can just say, let's put a line break and we say the name no, I need to put it before, isn't it? Like this, the name, and we can have a tab space here and plus name. Okay, so let's just copy and paste. Then we've got city plus city, and then we've got h plus h. Okay, so now since this is within the program class, we have to create an object of the program class, you see, on the main method. So instead I'm gonna say program, this new program, but you can also put these things in another class. Okay, and what is, we want the one print. Actually we have to call them both, so we first call the one accept. So we're going to say p dot accept. Okay, and we call p dot print. All right, so if we quickly compile this, where is the build errors? Oh yeah, sorry about that. I messed up. Which one does not belong? Oh, there we go. We're good now. Okay, so let's go ahead. So enter your name. Okay, never mind the spelling there, and I put my name there. And your city, Bloemfontein, age 25. There we go. See now how we can use the methods. So now few guidelines just when declaring a method. You can define multiple functions within a class or multiple methods. So that's why I only use the class program, so that you can sort of understand. So if you are using a return data type instead of void, then you have to return the appropriate value with a return keyword. So what does this mean? It means if I say in this method, for instance, maybe I have another method, public string last name or something, and so here I can pass a parameter of let's say string, and say surname. Oh yeah, and then you have to make sure that you return something like this. You see now. So if you did not use void and you use the data type, then you must have a return statement on the method. So that is very important. Okay, so that's one thing. So now we've learned about what method is and in C# and how we can declare a program. Okay, so now let's quickly look at how we can call the method. Okay, let's quickly look at how we can call a method. So after creating a function or a method, you need to call it in the main method. So the main method is always going to come with your C# program. So you need to call it. By doing this, we're actually calling it method. Okay, so in order to call the method, you need to create an object. You need to create an object of the method of the containing class, like we did here. So here we're creating an object of the containing class where it contains that particular method, because it's followed by, so that object. So in order to call the method, you put that variable or that object followed by the dot or the period operator to gain access or to call the method. So but if it's a static method, then there's no need to create an object. You can just directly call it followed by the class name. So for instance, let's say, okay, so let's say I've got another method here. I'm just going to create another method, or let's have another class. Let's have another class. So I'm going to have a class called print. Okay, so in this class I'm just going to have a static method. Let me see. So I'm gonna say public static void, and I can just say something here. I don't know, something, anything, doesn't matter at this point. And then I'm gonna just console dot write line hello there. So now, since I've used static means you cannot create an object of it. So you can't instantiate it. You can just call it directly, you see. So now instead I'm just gonna call it by, if I wanted to call it on main, then I'm gonna call it by class name. I don't create an object, so I'm gonna say print, which is the class name, like this, and then dot the method sum. So you call it directly. Did you call it class print? Oh no, let me just say something as, let me say print static or something static, because I've already have something, a print static, and then the method there, which is sum. You can call it directly by that, okay, because that is static and it cannot be instantiated. So if we compile and print this, of course it's going to ask for my name and all of these things before you can call it method, because it's coming last Bloemfontein 25, and then you can see the hello there, right? Well, I was supposed to print a line break or something, but you can see that it did call it hello there. All right, so that's one thing that you must just remember, that if the method is declared static, then you can call it directly by the class name. instead of creating an object of the class, just like but if it's void, then you must create an object of the class. I mean, if it's not static, if it's non-static. So we've learned about how to call a method or a function in the main method, and how we can use static method in C# programming. Now let's look at let's talk about this static method a little bit, and the variables, the static variables. First, we need to I will explain what is static keyword in C# programming, and how to use it with functions, variables, and how to use a static method or a variable in C#. So the thing is, whenever you write a program or you write a function or declare a variable, it doesn't create an instance in the memory. It doesn't create it doesn't make space in the memory until you create an object of the class. That's when it creates an instance of this class. So that's why we say we instantiating it, we're creating an instance in the memory space for that let's say for the program class. Okay, so but if you declare any function or variable with a static modifier, it directly creates an instance in the memory, and it acts globally. So now the static modifier doesn't reference any object, you see. So how do we actually use it? It's very easy to create a static modifier with variables, functions, classes. You just put the static keyword before the return data type of the method, just like we did here. We can also make a static variable. I think my examples is too long now. I'm getting lost of where I am, so I'm just going to remove other things there. No. Oh my word. Okay, so I think that's much cleaner. That's better. Okay, let's rid of these. Okay, so let's say we've got I'm just going to call this class something else. Let's call it number. Okay, and let's rid of that. Okay, so we've got this class called number. So we're going to create a static variable there. So we can say public int static int num, and then we're going to create a static method. So maybe we want to do like something like the power off. So we can say public static void, and let's do power, and then here we're just gonna console dot write line, and something like power off this equals to that. And then here we're just gonna say num. I mean, to get the power of is a number multiplied by itself, isn't it? Like, so we say num multiplied by itself. I don't know, I can't remember math, but it's something like that. All right, so now on the main method, the main class, so we can just accept the value. So we can say console dot write, and we can say something like enter a number. All right, let's make a step space. Okay, and of course now how do we do that now? Since we don't need to instantiate that class of, we don't need to create an instance of that class, or an object of the class of number. So we can call the class directly because why? Um, it's a static class. So we can say number. Actually, the class is not static, but the members, they are static. So we can call those members directly. So we can say number dot num. You see, and of course we need to convert whatever that we're getting from the console to int32, and then console dot read line. All right, so this is great, and now we can call that method. So we can say number dot power. Now if we compile this, then we can enter the number there we want. Let's enter 8. What is the power of 8? Gives us 64. Okay, so it's really easy to create static methods and so on. So we've learned about static methods and variables. So we also learned how we can use them in the program. Let's talk about the main method, and then perhaps we'll see how far we get. Yeah, I think we're gonna end there. So now in C# programming, main method is where the program starts the execution. That's why when you create a new program, you'll see there's already a main method there. Okay, there's normally a main method because that's where everything starts. That's where it starts executing. So this is the main entry. This is the main entry point of your program that executes all the objects and call all the methods that it needs to execute or invoke those methods. Now, one important thing, there can only be one main method in C#. You can't have two main methods. However, the C# main method can be void, okay, or it can have an int return type, okay. It must be inside a class or a struct, okay. It just can't be alone, hanging out in the air, and it must be declared with a static modifier. So it's important that you always use static. That's why you'll see static void main. So it must be declared with a static modifier, because it is the main, like I said before, it's the main place where the program will start execution and end. So it's also you can have so many classes and so many methods, but at the end of the day, everything is being executed on the main method. That's why when on the previous example, we had like 3 or 4 classes that contains methods that will print us values, and others are accepting values. But at the end of the day, where did we instantiate them? There on the main method, because that's where it starts and that's where it ends. Let's say I've got a class number. Yeah, we can still use this one, okay. And then I've got let's just add a couple of things there. So in this class, I'm gonna have a floating number, float, and I've got num, and then I've got percent, and then and then I'm gonna have a method. I'm not gonna make it static, so we can say void, and let's say accept. Let's call it accept as well. And then here we can just write something, console.write, and we can just say enter your marks. So we can say enter. Actually, I wanted to use the line break there. Enter your marks, and we can just say total mark should be, let's say, 850. All right, so this is, and let's have a tab space so that they can enter the marks. Okay, now whatever that they're entering, so we can put it on, so we can just say num is Now, since this is a floating point, remember this is a string, right? Like everything that we're getting from the console is string. So we will need to convert it to a floating data type. So to do that, we use a method called parse. So we're gonna say float.parse, float.parse, okay? And so we say console.readline, readline. Okay, now let's have another method that's going to print. So we can say public print. Now we're going to take the percent, and we will say num divide by 850. Remember we said the total was 850 multiplied by 100 just to get the percentage, isn't it? Okay, so num we will need to specify, we need to cast this by doing like float, because otherwise, yeah, just to make sure that the num is floating, it's a floating number. Okay, and now we're gonna say if percent is less than 35, then we're gonna write that you fail. So it's in console dot write line sorry, you have failed. Okay, you have failed. And then else if percent is, let's say, greater than 35 and percent is less than 50, then we can write something else in console dot write line. You almost got it, but try again. Okay, and then let's say else if percent is greater than 50 and percent is greater than 60 or less than 60, then we can just write something else, console dot write line congratulations, congrats, you have passed. Okay, shall we have a, and then let's have the last one. So we're going to say else if percent is greater than 60 and less than 75, and then that is what what do you call those things, like when you almost got a distinction. Console dot write line congrats, almost got a distinction. Or else, so we're gonna have a fallback, or else. Now this one they've passed really good, so we don't need to actually test this. Why am I using these things now? See, without parentheses, they just keep the code cleaner. without braces. I mean, so we can just say console dot write line, something like wonderful. Yeah, got distinction. Okay, so now you'll see that we have all of these things. This is a check or whatever, that checks if the marks that you've got, is it correct, are they accordingly, and then they pass a different message according to what you are passing. Now, but at the end of the day, everything is going to be in this main method. So now this is the start of the execution in the main method. Although we do have that class and the method, but it does nothing. It does nothing without the main method. So to start execution, then we'll need to call number, and I can just say number is new number. Okay, and then I'm gonna say number dot accept. So I call that accepting method to put my marks, and then I'm also gonna call the printing method, number dot print. Okay, so now if we compile this, and so if I enter my marks, I got, because I'm a lazy student, I got 16, and then sorry, you have failed. You see now. So, but the main thing is that everything is being executed by the main method. Okay, so now the question that may arise is, why is it always declared with a static? Why is it always static? It's because it can't be called in another method or a function. That's the reason. It can't be called anywhere else. You can't call the main method in any other class. You see, so the main method instantiates other objects. It's the one that does the calling. It doesn't. It's the boss. It doesn't get called. Okay. So it instantiates other objects and variables, but there is no any other method out there that can instantiate the main method in C#. On the other hand, also the main method doesn't accept a parameter from any other function. It doesn't accept any parameter from any other function. It only takes a parameter as an argument via a command line argument. So it's what we call a command line arguments, that IRGS there. Okay. Okay, so I think we've learned about main method, and it's always declared with a static, and we also learn how to use the main method in programming.